Hello and welcome to my first 6th Doctor Big Finish video. This is my overview of 6 and Big Finish. I'll be starting with the actual reviews of individual stories next video. I realise it's a bit weird to go from one introduction to another, more specialised introduction, but as I established before, Big Finish is huge, and there's a lot to explain. In this video, I'll be talking about 6's companions, both TV and Big Finish originals, and letting you know about the main places you can find his adventures, because Doctors will turn up in random places. The 6th Doctor was one of the original Big Finish Doctors, along with the 5th and the 7th, and like I said in my last video, has undoubtedly been the one most redeemed by it. He's still overbearing, brash, and in love with the sound of his own voice, but he's been tempered by experience, and even more importantly, by a marked improvement in writing. And hey, I love his costume, but I'm sure not having to look at it made a difference for a lot of people too. The change was driven by Colin Baker himself. He'd planned on 6 to change and soften with time, and actively wanted to play the Doctor for longer than Tom Baker. It was an approach to the character, and TV as a whole, that was decades ahead of its time, and a Big Finish to get the chance to do it. In universe, the reason for this change was down to one person in particular. His first original Big Finish companion, and the first original Big Finish companion overall, Evelyn Smythe. Evelyn was not the usual companion mould. She was a divorced 55-year-old history lecturer, who steadfastly refused to let 6 get away with his bullshit, and over time she broke him in. 6 was generally a mentor or father figure to most of the companions, but Evelyn was his best friend. Their relationship was best summed up in the story Arrangements for War. When close to a breakdown, 6 said that he'd had companions who were his emotional betters and his intellectual equals, but she was the first to be both.
It's a challenge for me in some ways to travel with you, Evelyn. I mean, I'm so terribly fond of all my companions. Each of them has been special to me, unique. It's not just anyone I let into the TARDIS.
And it's not just anyone who could put up with your mood swings.
Indeed. But they've all been, well, I suppose I have to say, younger.
Thank you.
No. Perhaps I mean less experienced. Less well-rounded. Well, I've travelled with my intellectual equals and with my emotional betters, but no one other than you, Evelyn, has been... Well, I've travelled with an American for some time recently, and I'm sure she would have told me the phrase I was looking for. However much it irks me to utter it, it was the whole kit and caboodle. Come here, Dr. Smythe. I think we both need a cuddle.
She's introduced in the Marion Conspiracy, just the 6th Big Finish release in the main range, the original home for their Doctor Who stories. It ended with number 275 and was renamed The Monthly Adventures. The Marion Conspiracy was 6's second appearance after the pilot, The Sirens of Time, so Evelyn was there from practically day one. She was lecturing at Sheffield Hallam University when the Doctor interrupted her class and discovered that she was a walking temporal anomaly, because her family history had been altered and she was about to become non-existent. You know how it is. So she put on her cardigan, picked up her handbag, grabbed some cocoa, and marched into the TARDIS against the Doctor's wishes, and stayed there for the next few years. Her time. Like I said, Big Finish liked to jump around with companions. Together, they met Charles Darwin and the Silurians, fought vampires, leapt from a speeding train. She helped 6 get through his own Time Lord victorious moment, 5 years before the waters of Mars. They did a musical involving pirates. She became a Cyberman, maybe. She fell in love with a handsome widower and met 7, before dying defeating an evil word lord. Basically a Time Lord, but for language. They're from an alternate reality. It's a whole thing. Evelyn's stories will be my first video after this one, because Maggie Stables, who played her, died some years ago, so unlike the other videos, it won't go out of date with new releases. 6's second original Big Finish companion was Charlie Pollard, and strap in because this is where it gets confusing. So much so that I'm probably going to have to go over this again when I do her video. Charlie was a rich young woman who died in the R101 blimp disaster in 1930, but history was changed when she was saved by the Doctor.
But probably not the one you're expecting.
Yes, 8 saved her. She then became his first audio companion and arguably his definitive one. Then, after years of stories, there was a whole thing, and the upshot was that Charlie was left alone and she thought 8 was dead. And then she got rescued by Six. And then she spends some more years desperately trying not to fuck up the timeline further by telling Six about 8. It all gets explained pretty cleverly by the end. It's basically a variation of 12 Forgetting Clara, but better, and was done years beforehand. Charlie would meet some reversed werewolves, discover Dalek communism, become a highwayman, attempt to save the day by yelling her life story at the Doctor in an effort to create a paradox large enough to break the plot, and narrowly avoid being stabbed by an origami Terminator. Charlie's story with Six is a great example of the sort of thing that can't be done in TV Who, or if it can, it has to be planned out meticulously years in advance. She's at her best with 8, and her time with 6 is a little bit of a gimmick, but it's a fine gimmick, even if the writing around her trying to keep her secret is really unsubtle, in a bad way.
Then what are this lot doing here?
At a guess, fighting their blood enemies, creatures they shared their birth world with.
And that birth world was...
A planet known as Skaro.
Right. Scarlet?
Yes, Skaro.
Oh, I mean...
Does that mean something to you, Charlotte?
No, it's...
Destroy them.
Valiant!
They're replicants designed to infiltrate and kill.
What? Infiltrate and kill?
It's a well-known Dalek strategy. The trouble is they don't have the wit to improvise a response.
The trouble is, you lot see Daleks in your own shadows.
Daleks? He said Daleks and you didn't even blink.
I know he said Daleks. It's the name of their enemy. Right, aren't I?
Yes. Correct.
Have you heard of them before?
I have.
That's enough, you two.
Six's third Big Finish original companion was Flip Jackson, also known as Philippa. Flippa is basically Rose from New Who, but with everything I hated about Rose removed. She's a young, mouthy, working-class woman from London who's not too bright and means well. But unlike Rose, she's just a regular person, not secretly incredible, not crippled by jealousy, and there's definitely no romance. How Flip ended up in the TARDIS is interesting because she wasn't created to be a companion. She was a small part in her debut story, The Crimes of Thomas Brewster, but the production team fell in love with Lisa Greenwood's performance, so the next year she was brought back. Flip seemingly can't keep away from sex. After her initial run-in, she meets him again randomly and travels in the TARDIS. Okay, normal. Then she's left home and gets married to her boyfriend Jared, becoming Flip Ramone, and then gets kidnapped by aliens at the reception. Meets Six again and continues their travels. Flip met the Wirren, died, and then didn't in the TV show, kicked a slave owner in the nuts for proposing marriage, met Syl, went into orbit with the Indian Space Association, accidentally resurrected another companion via a tree, and got attacked by a space monster and fell into a coma. I do love Flip, but it's probably going to be a long time till we see her again. Lisa Greenwood sadly came down hard with COVID and hasn't been able to do any voice work since. As a result, the last we heard about Flip was that she was in that coma after being stung by a space monster. Six's fourth Big Finish companion was Constance Clark, played by the pretty famous Miranda Razan, who you might recognise from Night Flyers or as the voice of Cassandra in Dragon Age or in Warrior. She's a pretty well-established actor in both live action and voice acting, and she played Tallulah in Daleks in Manhattan, but don't hold that against her.
You're lucky, though. You got yourself a forward-thinking guy with that hot potato and the sharp suit.
Ugh.
Constance Clark, or Mrs. Clark, was a Wren, one of the Women's Royal Naval Service, basically the women's division of the British Navy in World War II. She worked for British intelligence at Bletchley Park, home of Allied code breaking. The Doctor came into her life in the story Crisscross, where he took up residence as one of the Bletchley Boffins for reasons of plot, and she initially thought that he was a German spy. She takes up the offer of travelling because her husband is missing in action, and she'd like a distraction from everything that comes with that. But she insists that she's not deserting. She'll be back to see out the rest of the war. And I'm not being sarcastic or anything, she doesn't want to miss the rest of the war. And she's still travelling in her timeline, so I assume that's what happened. Constance met the Rani and was briefly turned into a cyborg cockroach by her son, met some Skeksis, hung out with a 20-foot-tall ghost Viking, got stuck in a multiversal train station, fought religious fundamentalist Daleks, died and was resurrected thanks to flipping a tree, was unimpressed by H.P. Lovecraft, and got very confused when the Doctor told her that the trans and non-binary omnisexual Calypso Jones from the far future was flirting with her. Flip and Constance both travel with the Doctor separately and were great, but put all three of them together and we get the official Sixth Doctor Dream Team. Constance's practical, wartime, 1940s, no-nonsense ways work perfectly counterpointed by Flip's irreverent, black-and-white approach to right and wrong. There's one story in particular called Scorched Earth, set in the closing days of World War II, that showcases them both brilliantly. It's a French village just after the German retreat, and the villagers are celebrating. and punishing a local girl who fell in love with a German soldier. Constance is fine with letting it happen, but Flip tries to stop it.
You can't just do that!
Philippa, I know this is hard to watch, but please take a hold of yourself.
Honey, I can't believe you're saying this. We have to do something.
Put yourself in their shoes. France has been through so much humiliation, so much pain. And this woman, well, they say she betrayed them to the Nazis. To the Nazis, Philippa. I may not agree with the method of their justice, but it is still justice.
You really believe that?
I do. And I must say, if you'd fought this war, if you'd lived this, Philippa, you'd understand.
Well, I am not just going to stand here.
Philippa!
Stop! Everybody just stop! Right, got your attention, you ugly 7-foot bully. Hand them over.
What?
The pair of scissors. Oh, never mind, give them here.
Young lady, you will give them back immediately.
I won't, you know. Chin up, Clementine. I'm getting you out of here.
What are you doing?
What the doctor would do.
Who are you, girl?
My name is Philippa Ramone, and I do not appreciate seeing defenceless young women abused by big burly men in front of a screaming mob. Whatever you think she's done, she does not deserve this. Nobody deserves this.
I'm confused. Are you not a patriot?
Hey, stay back! All of you stay back!
Today is a day for France. Do not obstruct that.
Please stop. This girl is my friend. She doesn't know what she's saying.
Connie!
I suspect she knows exactly what she's saying. With the mouth of a traitor.
Oh, so I'm a traitor now. I only just got here.
I appear to be a little out of the loop. What have I missed?
Doctor.
I think there may have been a little misunderstanding here.
Misunderstanding?
If you'll allow us, we'll be on our way.
Doctor, you can't seriously be saying that we should let them do this.
Flip, give me the scissors.
Doctor,
I know exactly what you mean, because I feel it too in both hearts, believe me. But I need you to give me the scissors right now. It's very likely this very angry mob will do us some very considerable damage.
Doctor, here, just take them. I'll give up.
Thank you, Flip. I never give up. There, take them.
Don't just leave them in the dirt. Give them back to me. Where is your respect?
I've done enough to help you today, Lucien. Come on, Flip. Constance.
It's a really good example of conflict arising naturally to these two wildly different characters in the situation. I also love how neither Constance or Flip will allow the Doctor to use their real names. He has to call them Mrs. Clark and Flip, but they're allowed to call each other Constance and Philippa. It's small, but it's continuing the Evelyn thing of keeping Six broken in. One of the mistakes the TV show made was giving him companions they could dominate. He has such a forceful personality that the most interesting thing you can do with him is subjugate him a bit. I don't mean for that to sound dodgy, but I'm owning it. Six's last original Big Finish companion, thus far, is Hebe Harrison, a wheelchair-bound marine biologist. She's a good mix of the old and the new. Her marine biology is a callback to 80s Who, which tended to randomly give companions impressive credentials, like Edric and his maths or Perry and botany, but actually making use of it in the stories is mostly new. What's very new though is her wheelchair, because Hebe is Who's first disabled companion. And rather than have it just as a gimmick, they actually worked with actor Ruth Madeley, who's also wheelchair-bound, to make Hebe's experience as true to life as possible. For example, in her first story, The Rotting Deep, Hebe has to stand up and the other characters accuse her of lying, of not needing her chair, and she gets to yell at them that most wheelchair users can stand or even walk for short periods. Hebe is short-tempered, doesn't suffer fools, and is used to being belittled and looked down on because of her disability.
I'm in a wheelchair. I'm not Vlad the Impaler.
No, of course not. You're much,
If you say prettier, I'll kneecap you with my footrest.
I was going to say much more agreeable. Now, I'm not so sure.
I don't think we need to compare anyone to any historical villains right now. Hi, I'm Melanie, Mel. And this is the Doctor. I'm sorry. We thought you were something else.
Something else? I'm a thing. Am I, Melanie Mel?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean...
Nah, I know you didn't. Don't mind me.
Now, this sounds unsubtle, and it is, but it was only 6 years ago that the UK got yelled at by the UN for being shit to disabled people. Sometimes unsubtle is justified, and when you listen to the arc, it has a point.
Hebe Harrison, also Doctor. Don't use it though, because who does that?
Well, actually,
It's nice to meet you. Do you work here on the rig?
Well, not exactly. Don't you know? Aren't you here to get us all home?
All? So there are more people here?
Well, yeah. There's 7 of us left.
Oh. Everyone else has already gone home?
No. There are 7 of us left alive.
Hebe's only been in 6 stories thus far. The others were introduced in the main range, the now finished original run of 275 releases. Post-main range, they released collections of adventures with each Doctor, featuring the same companions, taking place around the same time, which is easier for collecting. Hebe debuted in 6's first collection, Waterworlds, so called because they take Hebe to some waterworlds, and so far she's only travelled alongside Mel at the very tail end of 6's life. I say so far because Ruth Madeley is appearing in the 60th anniversary specials, and unless she randomly says that she is not and has never been called Hebe, then I'm going to pretend that it's her after a name change. Hebe was created by Jacqueline Rayner, who nearly 20 years ago introduced Evelyn Smythe, and Hebe's even an old student of Evelyn's. It's the next best thing to having the old girl back. Anyway, apart from Evelyn, Charlie, Flip, Constance and Hebe, 6 also has Perry and Mel. And Perry again. 6 picks her up again after Flip leaves the first time, but before she comes back. Like I said previously, the exact order isn't always obvious. At least you can sometimes tell when a Perry story is happening, because her earliest travels will use the Peter Davison theme like Series 22, and her later travels use the Trial of a Time Lord theme. Perry is basically the same as she was on TV. Nicola Bryant's voice hasn't even changed that much. If anything, her accent's just got slightly better. The biggest difference is she's now allowed depth beyond yelling back at the Doctor. And once she rejoins the Doctor, post-Trial of a Time Lord, she's 5 years older and much less naive. But Mel? Mel is different. Mel was scripted on TV as a one-dimensional fitness enthusiast who really enjoyed screeching.
At least not until...
Switch it off! Switch it off!
Mel in Big Finish has depth, character, and in one alternate reality with a Valyard 1, she's a fucking badass. She's still terribly nice though, which works well as a counterbalance to Hebe's cynicism. 6 also had several short-lived companions who will be getting their own video. Most notably, Jago and Lightfoot, the Harumphing Victorians from the Talons of Weng Chiang. Jago is a hard-drinking theatre guy and Lightfoot is a straight-laced doctor. Together, they starred in their own series until actor Trevor Baxter's death, battled the paranormal and occasionally got visited by their good friend the Doctor, and even, once or twice, got taken in TARDIS traps. Beyond the regular adventures, 6 also had a lot of lost stories, a series made of stories that were never made for TV. Some were commissioned and scripted but fell through, like the entire original Series 23, and others were just rejected by the show at the time. Most interesting of 6's lost stories is probably The Mind of the Hodiak, which was written by a teenage Russell T Davies back in the late 80s. But I'll be covering the lost stories along with the other stories featuring that companion. Apart from Jago and Lightfoot, 6 also appeared in series like The Diary of River Song, Peladon, and The Lives of Captain Jack, where Jack had to pretend to be him, and many beyond that. But since he's not the main character, I'm not going to be covering them in this series. Anyway, I think that's enough to be going on with. I'm planning on doing separate videos on Evelyn's adventures, Charlie's, Flip's, Constance's, Constance and Flip's, Perry's, Mel's, and Mel and Hebe's. But if any of these end up unusually short, I'll unite some of them. After all that, I'll be doing another video on other companion stories like Jago and Lightfoot's trips, Thomas Brewster, Mary, Matthew Sharp, Joe Carnaby, Jamie, Frobisher, and any more I've forgotten off the top of my head. And finally, another video on the Doctor's trips alone. I realise this is a lot of videos, but there are a lot of stories. And at some point in all this madness, I'll probably do a video covering special releases like The Last Adventure, Six's epic regeneration arc that covers 4 stories throughout his life and features Constance, Charlie, Flip, Jago and Lightfoot and Mel, but not all at the same time. I'll also cover Crisis crossovers like The Legacy of Time, which featured a whopping 9 Doctors from Classic and New Who.
Romana! Leela!
Doctor!
I understand you require a bit of assistance. Naturally, you called me. Who wouldn't?
This from the man who had me sit next to him on a sacrificial bonfire within minutes of my arriving.
Well, the natives of Balavar 4 can be a trifle parochial.
It is good to see you, Doctor.
But it hardly helps. That still only makes 2 of us who can fly this thing. Unless you also happen to be a
Gallifreyan? Dear Lord, no. A fact that helps me sleep at night on a regular basis. However, I know a man who is.
Might I be of assistance?
The more the merrier, it would seem.
Hello, Romana. Hello, Leela.
Hello, Doctor.
Yes, your doctor. I'm here. Not just as Johnny come lately.
It's not all about you, you know. Don't worry. We'll soon have this sorted. Older and wiser heads will prevail.
Hello!
Although now I think about it, some of us do begin to lose our marbles as the years take their toll.
I'm sorry. I didn't hear what you said. Of course, if you could turn the volume down on your trousers, that might help.
3 of them. I'm not sure I could stand it.
3? I wish.
Leela!
Doctor, do you wish to crush me to death?
Romana! Lovely seeing you both.
Do unhand me, Doctor. We really don't have time.
Always time for a hug between old friends.
Possibly, but in this case, time is very much of the essence, I'd say.
Good point, Doctor. Let's get on with it, shall we?
Time to assume our positions at the console, gentlemen.
After you.
No, please. After you.
We still need 2 more.
I know.
So sorry, old chap.
No, it's quite all right. After you.
Wouldn't dream of it. Age before beauty.
They are all the Doctor?
I know. Confusing, isn't it?
Leela, Benny, could you deal with that, please?
Are more doctors coming to assist?
Fred must have got out.
Is that not helpful?
Yet another TARDIS here and now will blow us apart before we even take off.
Leela, Benny, hello!
Another one of you that enjoys a hug.
Oh, yes, Benny! Oh, come here!
Skipping around a place manhandling women? I'm giving serious consideration to never regenerating.
Don't be such a grump. Oh, hello, you two. I have absolutely no idea who you are, but, any friend of his.
Without wanting to be rude, we really don't have time for this. Your arrival is threatening to ruin everything.
Oh, they all say that. Just you wait. We'll soon have it sorted.
It's sort of what we do, you see.
There's also the 50th anniversary special, The Light at the End, and the main range's final hurrah at the end of the beginning. Anyway, I'm pretty sure I've forgotten some stuff, but that's enough to be going on with.
Measure mystery and the sound without taking up time. So the handiworks remain only a dream around.
Please remember to like and subscribe to the Doctor Who YouTube channel.